This content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. I wasn't expecting him to walk in. It was just a regular Tuesday afternoon, and I thought I had the house to myself. I had just gotten back from the gym, a little sweaty, a little tired, and all I wanted was a quick shower and some fresh clothes. I closed my bedroom door, at least I thought I did, and started changing, like I've done 100 times before. That's when I heard the sound. Just a faint creak. When I turned around, there he was. My stepson. Standing in the doorway. He didn't flinch. Didn't turn away. He just stood there, frozen, eyes wide, like he didn't know what to do. For a second, I couldn't even move either. My brain was racing, trying to figure out if I had left the door open or if he'd come in on purpose. Either way, the moment was already happening. And now, we both had to figure out what came next. Before you jump to conclusions, no, nothing inappropriate happened. But something definitely changed that day. The look in his eyes wasn't childish anymore. It was like he saw me differently. Not just as his dad's wife. Not just as the woman who makes breakfast and nags him about laundry. He looked at me like he was seeing me as a woman for the first time. And that scared me more than anything. This isn't your typical drama or love triangle. This story is about boundaries, awkward moments, and how relationships shift in ways we never expect. It's about trust, discomfort, and the complicated reality of blended families. Because let's be honest, being a step-parent already comes with a unique set of challenges. You're not the mom, not the friend, not the enemy. You're just somewhere in between, figuring it out as you go. What happened after that moment? Well, things didn't go back to normal right away. We both pretended like it didn't happen, but you could feel the tension. The way he avoided eye contact. The way I double-checked my door every time. But even with the silence, there was a shift, subtle but real. And soon, other things started to surface. Conversations that had never happened before. Little things that didn't feel so little anymore. If you've ever been in a situation where one moment changed everything, where someone saw you in a way they weren't supposed to, you'll understand where this story is going. What would you do if someone you cared about saw you in a private moment and didn't look away? Was it curiosity, disrespect, or something deeper? Tell me in the comments. Do you think he should have apologized, or should I have spoken up? Let's open the conversation. And trust me, this story is just getting started. What happens next might surprise you. I didn't say anything at first. Just grabbed a t-shirt off the bed and pulled it over my head as fast as I could. My heart was pounding. He blinked a few times, then finally turned around and walked off, like nothing happened. No words. No apology. Just silence and footsteps fading down the hallway. The rest of that day felt strange. I stayed in my room longer than I needed to, pretending to scroll through my phone, trying to make sense of what just happened. I kept replaying it over and over again. Was it an accident? Did he see the door cracked and just assume it was okay to come in? Or was it something else? That's the part that started to bother me. My stepson, Jason, has always been quiet. Not rude, just private. He's 22, goes to community college, works part-time, and mostly keeps to himself. We never had a super close bond, nothing bad between us, but we weren't the kind to have heart-to-hearts or hang out one-on-one. I've always tried to respect his space, and I thought he did the same for mine. But after that day, things felt different. I'd catch him looking at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. Not in a creepy way, just long enough to make me wonder what was going through his head. And he started hanging around more. Not saying much, just being there, in the kitchen when I cooked, sitting on the couch when I watched TV. It wasn't just me imagining it, either. Even my husband noticed. One night while we were watching a movie, he leaned over and said, "Jason's been around more lately, huh?" I just nodded, not sure what to say. I didn't want to make it a thing. But the truth was, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were both tiptoeing around something. That moment in the bedroom hadn't gone away, it was just hanging there, unspoken. And with every day that passed, the silence started to feel heavier. I kept wondering if I should bring it up. Clear the air. But how do you even start that kind of conversation? "Hey, remember when you saw me changing and just stood there?" That would make things even weirder. So I stayed quiet. For now. But I couldn't help but feel like something was building. Something I wasn't ready for. What do you think? Was it just a mistake, or is there something deeper going on here? A few days passed, and things stayed weird. Jason didn't bring up what happened. Neither did I. But the unspoken tension was getting harder to ignore. Every little interaction felt loaded. If I walked into the room, he'd sit up straighter. If I spoke to him, he answered too quickly, like he was overcompensating. And then there were the pauses, those awkward silences that didn't used to be there. One night, I overheard him talking on the phone in the hallway. His door was slightly open, and I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but his voice carried. No, I swear it wasn't like that. I didn't mean to walk in. I just froze. Then silence. I couldn't hear the response, but it made me stop in my tracks. Who was he talking to? A friend? Was he worried I was going to tell his dad? That thought hit hard. I hadn't even considered bringing it up to my husband. What would I even say? That his son accidentally saw me changing and now things feel off? That could go sideways fast. And the last thing I wanted was to cause problems between them. Still, I started to wonder if keeping quiet was the right choice. I mean, the longer I waited, the weirder it got. I caught myself acting different, avoiding certain outfits, always locking the door, double-checking if he was home before heading to the laundry room. I was on edge in my own house. Then something strange happened. Jason started doing little things, helping with groceries, offering to do dishes, even asking how my day was. It was nice, but also out of character. Almost like he was trying to make up for something. Or distract from something. One afternoon, we were both in the kitchen. I dropped a glass and it shattered across the floor. Without thinking, he rushed over, hands out, saying, "Don't move, I'll get it." His voice was so urgent, like he was scared I'd get hurt. It caught me off guard. Was that just kindness, or something more? Was he feeling guilty? Or was there something he still hadn't said? I'm starting to feel like this isn't just about that one moment anymore. It's like that second changed everything, and now we're stuck pretending it didn't. But how long can we keep pretending? What do you think Jason's real feelings are? Was it truly innocent, or is there more to the story than he's letting on? Drop your thoughts in the comments. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the kitchen moment, Jason dropping to the floor to pick up the glass, the way his voice changed, the way he looked at me like he wasn't just worried about the mess, but about me. It made my chest feel tight. I told myself it was just his way of being helpful. That he felt bad about what happened before and was just trying to smooth things over. But part of me wasn't sure anymore. The next day, the air in the house felt heavy. My husband had left early for a work trip, gone for 2 nights. I hadn't thought anything of it when he first told me. But now, with just Jason and me under one roof, the silence was louder than ever. I tried to keep busy. Cleaned the kitchen, did laundry, even rearranged a shelf that didn't need rearranging. Every time I passed by Jason's room, I wondered if he was thinking about it too. The awkwardness. The shift. The fact that we still hadn't talked. Around dinner time, he came out and asked if I wanted to eat together. We never usually did when my husband was out. It caught me off guard. But I nodded, trying to keep it casual. Sure, I said. I was just about to start something. We cooked in silence. Nothing big, just pasta and garlic bread. But the quiet between us felt louder than any argument could have. At one point, our hands brushed while reaching for the same spoon. He pulled back quickly. I did too. But in that half-second, it felt like electricity. Not the romantic kind, just tension. Pressure building. We sat down at the table. Tried to talk about normal things. School. Work. The weather. But his eyes kept drifting. Not in an obvious way, just small glances that I pretended not to notice. I felt myself tightening up. Was he going to say something? Then, halfway through the meal, he finally put his fork down and said quietly, "I think we should talk." My heart jumped. He didn't look up. Just stared at his plate, like the words were too heavy to lift. I froze. This was it. The moment everything could either come out or fall apart. What do you think he's about to say? Is this the truth I've been waiting for, or something I'm not ready to hear? Let me know in the comments. I stared at Jason, waiting for him to say something. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. It was like he couldn't decide where to start. The silence stretched so long, I almost told him to forget it. But then he finally spoke. "I didn't mean to see you that day," he said, voice low. "I swear, it was an accident." But after that, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I sat back slowly, my chest tightening. That was more than I was ready to hear. I looked at him, but he still wasn't meeting my eyes. "I don't want to mess things up," he continued, "but I've been confused. I didn't know how to handle it. I still don't." Just as I opened my mouth to respond, we heard the front door unlock. My heart dropped. My husband wasn't supposed to be back until tomorrow. Jason looked just as shocked. We both stood up too fast, like we'd been caught doing something wrong, except we weren't. But it felt like we were. The door opened, and there he was. My husband, suitcase in hand, looking confused. "Surprise," he said. "Flight changed. Thought I'd come home early." The timing couldn't have been worse. Tension still hung in the room like fog, and now the person we were both avoiding bringing into it was standing right in front of us. He looked between us. "Everything okay?" Jason stepped back. I forced a smile, but my hands were shaking. What would you do if the person you were trying to protect from the truth suddenly walked into the middle of it? Would you speak up, or keep pretending? Drop your answers in the comments. I looked at my husband, still standing in the doorway, and for a second, time stopped. Jason stepped away from the table, muttering something about going to his room, but my husband held up a hand. "Wait," he said. His eyes moved between us, and the confusion on his face slowly shifted into something else, something more alert. "What's going on?" he asked, voice calm but firm. I hesitated. I had kept this to myself for days, hoping it would fade, but the look on Jason's face earlier said it wouldn't. I took a breath and spoke. A few days ago, Jason accidentally walked in on me while I was changing. It caught us both off guard, but we didn't talk about it. And things got awkward. Jason looked down, clearly ashamed, but before anyone could say anything else, my husband nodded slowly. I figured something happened, he said. You both have been acting off. Then he turned to Jason. It was a mistake, right? Jason nodded quickly. Yeah. I swear. There was a long pause. Then my husband let out a slow breath. Okay. We move on. It's done. Just like that, it felt like the tension broke. But only for a second. Because then my husband looked at me and said, "Funny thing is, I came back early for another reason." He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket and set it on the table. Divorce papers. I've been unhappy for a while, he said quietly. It's not about this. It's something I've been sitting on. But maybe now's the right time to say it. I was stunned. All this time I'd been focused on what happened with Jason. I never saw this coming. Did you? Let me know in the comments, what twist did you expect? Jason stood frozen. I was speechless. My husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, had just dropped the real twist. While I'd been wrapped up in the awkward silence and tension with Jason, he had been quietly planning to end our marriage. And somehow, he knew the timing was right. Later that night, after the dust had settled a little, Jason knocked on my door. He didn't come in, just stood there in the hallway. I didn't know about the divorce, he said softly. I thought it was just me making things complicated. It wasn't just you, I admitted. Things were already broken. That moment in the bedroom, it just made all the cracks more visible. He nodded, then walked away. In the days that followed, things shifted. Not dramatically, but enough to feel the difference. Jason kept his distance, and I let him. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore, it was respectful. We both knew that whatever weird tension had existed had passed. We didn't owe each other anything more than honesty and space. My husband moved out a week later. No fighting, no drama, just two adults admitting something had run its course. Funny how one uncomfortable moment opened the door to truths we'd all been avoiding. Life is strange like that. Sometimes it's not the big betrayals or the loud arguments that change things. It's the quiet, in-between moments that shake everything up. What did you think about the ending? Was it what you expected, or did it take you by surprise? Would you want a part 2 from Jason's point of view? Drop your thoughts in the comments.